Devi Kavacam, which is a very, very special and most beautiful mantra. So I'll read it and first give a general overview of what it is about. There are some sections in it. So when we understand the sections, then we can read anything. So the first section is, before we say any shlokam or mantram, there is a vidhi, and that is like a preamble. Like in a book you open, there is a preface or foreword. So all stotrams also have a preface and foreword. I'll explain that. So first there is preface, and the preface consists of what is this you're going to say, who is the rishi who saw this mantra, because mantras are perceived, they are seen in meditation. Who is the rishi who saw this? Then what is the meter in which this mantra is set, chanda. Then who is the devata for this mantra, because a mantra is used to invoke a particular devata, and if it is said correctly, it will invoke that devata without fail. That is the power of the Ved. They knew which ones work. Then there is another thing called the seed, the bij of this entire mantra shlokam. Then there is something called the tattva, the essence of the mantra. In this it doesn't come. There is also something called kilakam, which is the key of the mantra. So these different aspects of the mantra are first described before then you say the shlokam or the mantra. And then the purpose. So there, Vedam is very scientific. You use the mantra for a purpose. So the purpose is also stated. So this way the preamble tells you what is coming. Why are you doing this? It's very beautifully thought out. Not just randomly we say anything. Then this particular mantra is, shlokam is said in a form of a samvad. It's a conversation between two people. And the greatest mantrams are always like this. You saw in the Upanishad also, and all these things. And we also say, we will say before I start reading.
Even the Vishnu Sahasranama.
Vishnu Sahasranama is a samvad between Yudhishthira and Bhishma. So this is also samvad. Krishna Arjuna samvad we read in Bhagavad Gita. So usually the shishya or the aspirant asks a question and the guru answers and gives the explanation. So in this one, he is going to explain the greatness of Devi Mahatmya. And first what he is going to say is, give 9 names of the Devi. Then once the 9 names are done, then he is going to say who is saved, under what circumstances does Devi help the person who is reciting this. Then, so you might say that is the prayog. Iska prayog kya hai, iska benefit kya hai. Then after that comes the description of the Devis themselves. So every Devi has a Vahan. So her Vahan is described. Then after that comes the conclusion. These are the 9 Devis, these are the way they are described, etc. Description. Then comes a description of their weapons, Ayudha. And if a person thinks in the external world, they will think these are weapons. But these are actually the weapons of the Devi on the internal world. Within each of us are all the asuras. The asuras are not anywhere outside. Mahishasura is within us. Shumbha, Nishumba, Chamunda, these Chandamunda, they are all within us only. And they have very specific functions in the path on sadhana. Mahishasura is encountered first. Then Shumbha and Nishumba, because they are yogis themselves. In this way. So what Devi destroys them, but she destroys them through Kundalini Shakti. So if you do Dhyanam and you are focusing on the chakras, you will feel her power in overcoming those enemies. So it's a very beautifully written, subtle text. It's not just an external thing. That is a gross understanding of it. But this is true. This is a spiritual text. It is what it is. Then comes the part where the directions. The directions are very important because in the highest chakra, before you reach Agya is Vishuddhi Chakra. Vishuddhi Chakra is the seat of sound, Shabda Tanmatra, and its tamasic manifestation Akash. The sense of space is there in this chakra only. And the sense of space is governed by some deities. These deities are called the Dig Devata. They are the deities of the directions. So, isme now will come a Raksha. So now the Raksha is starting with the directions, and then the next piece will come called in typically Anganyasam. When we do puja to various parts of the Lord. Actually, this entire universe is the body of the Lord only. So by worshipping the Lord externally, that is the first step. Then you worship the Lord internally. Because Brahmanda, Pindanda, Aikyam. Brahmanda is the microcosm, world, cosmic world. Pindanda is the world inside. They are the same. So Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya said, Brahmanda, Pindanda, Aikyam, Ekta. There is no difference. So worshipping inside, you are doing the same as worshipping outside. Worshipping outside is done to train the mind first. When the mind is trained enough in external puja, it should turn towards dhyan. That is the more advanced worship. But when the mind is disturbed, puja is very useful. So both are useful. One should not abandon anyone. If one is capable of being in dhyan all the time, very good. But if the mind gets disturbed, puja and part, these do help. So now describes every part of the physical body and the Raksha by which aspect of Devi protects those. Actually, if you read these great mantras and shlokams, they are the mini Ved itself. In this you will find Ayurveda. Actually, that's why I was thinking Catherine, she would be very thrilled to know. Little compact Ayurveda is here. Sankhya is here. Sankhya philosophy is there. Guna theory is there. And everything beautifully finished, summarized. And then after that there is a Phalasuti, which is what are the benefits accruing to those who worship. So it's a very beautiful and complete thing. And the ending is very thrilling, which is Devi leads you to Shiva, the auspicious one. Right? So that is the whole. I have to brief my summary there. Now we can read piece by piece, and I'll try to do as best as I can with Devi's grace. So first what I will do is I'll say one Devi Dhyana Stotra, and then we can do our shloka and then Om Hari Om Hari Om Hari Om Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om Sinduraruna Vigraham Trinayanam Manikya Maulispuraktaranayaka Shekharam Smita-mukhi Mapina Vakshoruham Panibhyam Malipurna Ratna Chashakam Raktotpalam Bibhratim Saumyam Ratna Ghatastha Rakta Charanam Dhyayet Param Ambikam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Bhavidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Atha Devyaha Kavacam. Om Asya Sri Chandi Kavachasya Brahma Rishihi Anushtup Chandaha Chamunda Devata Anganya Suktamataro Bijam Digbandha Devatas Tattvam Sri Jagadamba Prityarthe Saptashati Pathangatvena Jape Viniyogaha. So that is the preamble. The preamble says, Asya Sri, this is the Chandi Kavacham. Chandi is a form of goddess which is translated as angry, terrible, passionate, violent or impetuous. Brahma is the Rishi. So this is a very powerful Kavacham that the creator, Brahma is the very origin of all thought. Beyond that is only Paramatma. So the emerging form of consciousness in thought is Brahma. He is the Rishi who saw this Kavacham. The Chandas is Anushtup. There are many Chandas meters. Gayatri, Ushnuk, Anushtup, Brihati, Pankti, Trishtup, Jagatyat, Chandagams. There are that many Chandas. This is in the Anushtup Chand. Chamunda is the Devata. So the Devata invoked by this Kavacham is Chamunda. Chamunda is the destroyer of Chanda and Munda. So she is called Chamunda. Anganya Sokta Maturo Bijam. So the key or the Bijam, the seed of this is the Anganyasam of the mother. And the Tattvam is, I mentioned that the directions come here. Digbandha Devatas Tattvam. So the fixation of the directions by those deities, that is the Tattvam. And the purpose, Viniyoga, is Sri Jagadamba Prityarthe, the mother of the world, in order to please her. And this is supposed to be said before the Saptashati, Durga Saptashati, Pathangatvena Japi Viniyoga. Om Namaschandikayai Markandeya Uvacha. Om Yadguhyam Paramam Loke Sarvaraksha-karam Nrinam Yannakasya Chidakyatam Tanme Bruhi Pitamaha. Markandeya, the son of Mrikandu, great sage himself, Uvacha said, Yad Guhyam Paramam Loke, that secret, which is the ultimate secret in the world, Sarva Rakshakaram Drina, the protector of everything, and that which has not been said to anyone, Yanna Kasya Chidakyatam, that which you have not stated to anyone, Tan me Bruhi Pitamaha, please tell me that, O patriarch, Pitamaha or grandfather, grandsire. Brahmovacha Asti Guhyatamam Vipra Sarva Bhutopakarakam Devyastu Kavacham Punyam Tachrunushva Mahamuni. Asti Guhyatamam, there is a very deep secret, the ultimate secret. Vipra is O learned sage. Sarva Bhutopakarakam, that which is beneficent to all living things. Devyastu Kavacham Punyam, this Kavacham of Devi is extremely sacred. Punya. Tat Shrunushva Mahamani. Oh, listen to that, O great Muni. Now starts the description of the 9 Devis. I'll read them all at one set and then translate. Prathamam Shailaputri cha, Dvitiyam Brahmacharini, Tritiyam Chandraghanteti, Kushmandeti Chaturthakam, Panchamam Skandamateti, Shashtham Katyayaniti cha, Saptamam Kalaratriti, Mahagauriti Chashtamam. Navamam Siddhiratri cha Navadurga Prakirtitaha Uktanyetani Namani Brahmanaiva Mahatmana. So the meaning of this is that the first form of the Devi is Shailaputri. She is the daughter of the mountain. Parvati is daughter of Parvat, Himavan. So Shailaputri is the name of the Devi, first name. Dvitiyam is Brahmacharini. She is called Brahmacharini because Brahmacharya, the real meaning, is the mind permanently immersed in Brahman. That's actually the meaning of Brahmacharya. The secondary meaning is continence and celibacy, which follows. But the first meaning is that which is always roaming in Brahman or resting in Brahman. Tritiyam Chandra Ghanteti. So, Chandra Ghanta is another name of the Devi, that the moon hangs like a bell, you might say, as an abharanam of hers. Kushmandeti Chaturthakam. Panchamam, so that is Kushmanda is the fourth name. Panchamam Skandamateti, the mother of Skanda, who is Kartikeya. That is the fifth name for Devi. Shashtam Katyayani. So she was born to the Rishi Katyayana. So she is Katyayani also. Saptamam Kalaratriti. Kalaratri is, she is literally, Devi is actually time personified. So in the deepest meditation, in the Yoga Sutra it says at the end, when the final summit of meditation is reached, the very nature of time is understood. And Devi is time herself, because Devi is the embodiment of the three gunas. As long as the three gunas are rotating, there is time. If one loses the consciousness of Devi, that's when time starts actually, physical time. As long as one is immersed in Devi, there is no time. So if one is immersed in Devi or Brahman, one conquers time. That's why the yogi is said to conquer time. So she is Kalaratri. Mahagauri ti iti cha ashtamam. She is also called Mahagauri. Navamam Siddhidatri cha. She gives the Siddhis. And in this way, the 9 Durgas are made famous, prakirtita, praised. And by saying these nine names, essentially we are praising Brahman itself. Because the Shakti and Shiva are not different. They are the same. It's like two sides of the same coin. Similarly, Brahman and Maya, the Vedantists call it Brahman Maya. Those who worship Shiva may say Shiva Shakti, they are the same thing. Some may say Vishnu Lakshmi, Brahma Saraswati. These two pairs are identical. One cannot exist without the other. Now comes this next sequence of verses which talk about what happens to, or to whom is this useful or applicable, this Kavacam, which is the armor of the gods. Agnina dahyamanastu shatru madhye gatorane vishame durgame chaiva bhayartha sharanangata natesham jayate kinchid ashubham ranasankate napadam tasya pashyami shoka dukha bhayam nahi yaistu bhaktya smritanunam tesham vriddhi prajayate ye tvam smaranti deveshi rakshasetanna samshayah. So this is the sequence. Agnina dahyamanastu, he who is being burnt in fire. This can be an internal spiritual fire. In fact, one might think that this applies to armies and fighting. These armies and fighting are all happening inside. This Rama Ravana Yuddham is an internal Yuddham. It's always happening inside. Until Mukti is attained. Or at least Samadhi is attained. Agnina dakhyamanastu shatru madhye gatorani. He who has gone to a battle and is besieged by foes. These foes are like Mahishasura, Shumbha, Nishumba, Chanda, Munda. Essentially, they are all coming from the ego. As long as the jiva thinks they are different from Brahman, there is a sense of individuality. That individuality gives rise to all the proceeding difficulties. Vishame durgame chaiva. So in any kind of difficulty or in a difficult path, he who is afflicted by fear or distressed, arti, and who has come to the Sharanam, the refuge of the Devi. So this is very powerful for all sadhakas and meditators, because when one sits in meditation, just as in the physical world one may have fear, there are also fears encountered in the path of meditation. The 7 lokas, as one transcends Bhu, Bhuva, Suva, Bhu and Bhuva can be full of fears. So therefore taking refuge of Devi is very, very useful. She always saves all the sadhakas who are in meditation. Natesham jayate kinchid ashubham rana sankate. So to them no ashubh or inauspicious thing happens or arises even in the middle of battle. Napadam tasya pashyami, and I do not see any unpleasant thing befalling them. Apadam is like a danger. I don't see any danger befalling them. And this is the most important thing. Shoka dukkha bhayam nahi. Shoka is sorrow. There is no sorrow or dukkha and no fear. So remember that one of the characteristics of being in samadhi is there are no questions, there is no tu, there is no fear. So the absence of fear and the absence of questions is attained by prayer to the Devi. Yaistu bhaktya smrta, by whichever bhakta she is remembered, smritanunam, of them all prosperity and growth happens, vriddhi prajayate. And ye tvam smaranti deveshi, those who remember the Devi, she protects. Rakshase na tan na sanshaya, without doubt she protects. So this is establishing in the mind of the reciter the power of this Kavacam. Then comes a series of things describing the vahanas of the Devi. So I'll read those. Preta samsthatu chamunda varahi mahishasana aindri gaja samarudha vaishnavi garudasana maheshwari vrisharudha kaumari shikivahana lakshmi padmasana devi padmahasta haripriya Shvetarupadhara Devi, Ishvari Vrishavahana, Brahmis Hamsa Samarudha, Sarvabharana Bhushita, Ityeta Mataras Sarvaha, Sarva Yoga Samanvitaha, Nana Bharana Shobhadhya, Nana Ratnopashobhitaha. So, the first one is Preta Samstha. Pretas are actually those who have departed. So, when the body is dropped, the jiva is considered a Preta. So, one may say that spirit. Chamunda rides those. Varahi Mahishasana. Varahi, she rides the buffalo, Mahishasana. Aindri Gaja Samaruda. Now this is very interesting. Indra he rides Airavata the elephant. Aindri is his Shakti. So Aindri rides the Gaja. You will see a very nice parallel in all these. If you know the Vahan of the god, she rides the corresponding one. Gaja Samaruda. Vishnu rides the Garuda, the eagle. So Vaishnavi Garudasana. Vaishnavi rides on the Garuda. Maheshwari Vrisharudha. Maheshwara rides Nandi the bull. So Vrisha is also a bull. Maheshwari Vrisharudha. Kumara is Kartikeya. He rides the peacock. So Kaumari Shikivahana. Shiki is a peacock. Lakshmi Padmasana Devi. Lakshmi is sitting in the lotus. Padma is the lotus in which the chakras are situated. So Lakshmi is sitting inside that stalk of the lotus, the central nadi, Sushumna. Devi is there in all the nadis, but particularly in Sushumna is the way that she is accessed and takes to Shiva. Lakshmi Padmasana Devi Padmahasta Haripriya. So the beloved of Hari has the lotus in her hand. Shveta Rupa Dhara Devi. So the having a white form is also Devi. Ishvari Vrishavahana. Again, this is same kind of thing. The consort of Ishvara, she is also riding a bull. Brahmi Hamsa Samarudha. Brahma is consort. Brahmi is Saraswati, and she rides a swan, white swan. Hamsa Samarudha. Sarva Bharana Bhushita. They are all decorated with beautiful ornaments. Ityeta iti etaha. In this way, all these mothers, they are mothers. Matara. Sarvaha. They have all Sarva Yoga Samanvita. They are endowed with all the powers and yogas. That's the meaning. Sarva Yoga Samanvita. Nana Bharana Shobhadya. They are most beautifully bedecked with all the ornaments. Abharana is ornaments. Nana Ratnopa Shobhita. And also with all the most fantastic jewels. Ratnas are the jewels. Drishyante Rathamarudha Devya Krodha Samakula Shankam Chakram Gadam Shaktim Halam Chamusalayudham Khetakam Tomaram Chaiva Parashum Pashameva Cha Kuntayudham Trishulam Cha Shargamayudham Uttamam Daityanam Dehanashaya Bhaktanam Abhayaya Cha Dharayantya Yudhanitham Devanam Chahitaya Vai. So this set of verses describes the weapons that the goddesses carry. Drishyante Rathamarudha. They are seen riding a chariot. This chariot is again a metaphor. It doesn't mean a real chariot. The chariot is the senses. They are seen riding on the senses. Devya Krodha Samakula. And they have a fiery aspect. And why is that? Because in all the Gita we read, I'll quote one verse that comes to my mind. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yone evate. Adhyantavanta kaunteya teshu na ramate buddha. These yehi samsparshaja, the experiences that come by the contact of the senses with the sense objects. Samsparshaja bhoga. Dukkha yone, they are really the wombs of sorrow. Why? Because they come and go. That's the problem. It is not anything else. There's nothing. Until the mind has learned to control the senses, they turn out to be wombs of sorrow. Once the mind has controlled the senses, then it does not bother anymore. So, Teshu na ramate, in them, the wise one does not delight. Ramate buddha. So that is why this Krodha Samakula, because she's showing that fiery aspect against the asuric tendencies in man which draw them out towards the sense objects. So what are those ayudhas? Shankha, conch, by which Vishnu blows. Chakram, chakra is discus. Gadam is a mace. Jadam, Shaktim, Halam, plow. Musalayudham. Some of these I don't know the exact translation in English.
I know those words.
You know them.
Musar and
Sir,
Kata and
right, Ayudha, right. I'll translate the ones I know. So forgive me. Ketakam, Tomaram is another word. Parashu I know is an axe. And Pasham, this Pasham is a very important one. It's a noose. So again, this noose is the one that draws the senses in. So if you remember in one of the very famous songs by Sri Muthuswami Dikshidhar on Ganesh, he says, the verse goes like, Bhadrapada Masa Chaturthyam, which is when Ganesh is born, Brahmanadi Sampujitam, Pashan Kushadharam. He has the noose and the gold. This noose is to bring the mind in from the senses, and the gold is to move it up the Sushumna towards the goal. So that is why this Pasham, in many figures of the gods, we see the Pasham. That is what it means. Self-control. Pasham evacha. Kuntayudham Trishulam. Trishulam is another very powerful.
Trident.
Yes, it is a trident, but it has a very deep meaning. In the yogic path in Tantra, there are 3 nadis. Ida, Pingala, Sushumna. Ida flows on the left, Pingala on the right, Sushumna is in the middle. In most human beings, Shakti does not fly in the Sushumna. Shakti only flows in the Ida and Pingala. The Pingala is called the solar breath, the sun, Ha. The Ida is called the lunar breath, Tha. That is why Hatha Yoga. Yoga of the sun and the moon. Sun is prana, moon is the mind. There is a deep connection also with male and female aspects. But when the Devi Shakti is awakened through whatever means, it may happen due to pranayam, tapas, bhakti, it may happen due to past upasana done. So some people, it may happen even very early at birth. But when that Kundalini Shakti is awakened, then she moves upward in the Sushumna. Then she becomes a trident. Because then when the Shakti moves upwards like a trident, she will kill all the mala, all the impurities in the chakras. And that is the true meaning of tapas, actually. Tapas is kayendriya shuddhi. It does. Through the cleansing of the chakras. So that is why this Trishulam is so important as a weapon. Chet Sharngamayudam Uttamam. These are the sort of Sharngam is associated with Vishnu. And it is that Uttam weapon, the best weapon. Why is this? Why are these weapons there? Daityanam Dehanashaya. These Daityas are the sons of Diti. So long ago there were 2 daughters of Sage Kashyapa, Aditi and Diti. And if you know this Lakshmi Ashtotram, it says Aditim cha Ditim Ditam. She is the power actually behind both Aditi and Diti. The children of Aditi became the gods, the children of Diti became the Daityas. And they are always at war with each other. But Devi is the power behind both. So she can withdraw the power from the Asuras if she wants. She can also remind the Devas that she is the power behind them. That is why the Devi is so powerful to worship. So, Daityanam Dehanashaya, in order to destroy the bodies of these Daityas. Bhaktanam Abhayayacha, in order to provide fearlessness to the devotees, to the Bhaktas. Dharayantya, it is only for that they bear these arms. Dharayanti Ayudhan Itham. In this way they bear these arms. So many people, they see the aspects of the Devi and they think it's very frightening. No, it is frightening only to our ignorance. The things that should take flight when they see the Devi's arms is our ignorance. It is our 6 Shadripus are the ones that should take flight. We don't have to be at all afraid of Devis. None of her aspects are at all to be feared. To the true devotee, it is only a delight to see her in that aspect. That aspect is seen when Kundalini awakens and rises up the chakras. There will be great fear, and she will conquer those fears. Only through faith to her are those fears conquered. And in that aspect, she is seen as Durga, because of the 6 chakras, the lower 2 are associated with tamas, the Mooladhara and Swadhisthana. There, Devi is seen as Durga in a fearsome aspect. The next 2 chakras, Manipura and Anahata, she is seen as Lakshmi, which is beneficial, beneficent, bestower of spiritual wealth. Then in the highest 2 chakras, if you go beyond to Vishuddhi and Agya, she is seen as Saraswati, the bestower of wisdom. That is the true meaning of these Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, the threefold. Also with these you see 3 colors. Dark black is tamasic, red is rajasic, white is sattvic, Saraswati aspect. So the entire Tantra and Devi worship is so beautiful, so significant and so relevant to sadhakas. So one should try to worship with those understanding in mind and do dhyanam with that understanding in mind. Now we come to the next one, next set of verses. Namastestu maharaudre mahaghora parakrame mahabale mahotsahe mahabhaya vinashini trahimam devi dushprekshe shatrunam bhayavardhini pracyam rakshatu mamaindri agneyam agnidevata dakshine vaturvarahi nairutyam khadgadharini pratichyam varuni rakshet vayavyam mrigavahini udichyam patu kaumari aishanyam shuladharini urdhvam brahmani me rakshet adhastad vaishnavi tatha evam dasha disho rakshet chamunda shavavahana jaya me chagratah patu vijaya patu prishthatah. So I'll stop there. This sequence of verses again forms a block. So, Namaste Astu Maharaudre. Salutations may there be to the one who is extremely fiery and terrible aspect, Maharaudre. Rudra is a scary, fearsome aspect. Mahaghora Parakrame. Again, Mahaghoram is one of greatly feared strength. Her strength is awesome, fearsome strength. Mahabale, she is a great, very strong one. Mahotsahi, great enthusiasm. Mahabhaya Vinashini, she is the one who destroys the greatest fears. So this Utsaham is very important in yoga. Yoga is one of the first requirements in Hatha Yoga Pradipika is Utsahat. Utsaham, enthusiasm for yoga is very important. So by invoking Devi, you gain that enthusiasm. When we invoke Devi, all the fears get destroyed. So she gives the most conducive mental frame for sadhana. Trahi mam Devi dushprekshe. Trahi is save me. Me, Trahi mam, save me, Devi, O goddess, dushprekshe, from a bad circumstance. Shatrunam bhayavardhini. She is the one who increases the fear in all the enemies. She strikes fear in the heart of the enemies. Again, the enemies here being the Shadripus. Kama, Krodha, Mada, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya. Those 6. Prachya. Now we start the Dik Vandanam. Prachya Dishi is the eastern direction. Prachyam Rakshatu Mam Aindri. The Indrani protects the east direction. Now the directions are classified in sub-directions. Now will come southeast. That is called Agneya direction. The direction of Agni is southeast. So that will be this way. Southeast Agneyam, Agni Devata. She is the Lord of Agni. Dakshine Avatu Varahi. Varahi protects the southern direction. Then there is a southwesterly direction that is called Nairiti. Nairutyam Khadgadharini. Khadga is a weapon like an axe or a sword. Khadgadharini is the sword bearing aspect of Devi, protects the southwest. Pratichyam Varuni Rakshet. Varuni is the female aspect, the Shakti of Varuna Devata. She protects the western direction. West is always associated with Varuna. Even in the Sandhya Vandanam, in the Sayam Sandhya, we say Imam Me Varuna. Varuna is invoked in the western direction. Varuni Rakshit. Vayavyam Mriga Vahini. The one riding on Mriga, deer or an animal. Vayavyam. She protects the Vayu direction, which is actually northwest. Udicham Patu Kaumari. The consort of Kartikeya, Kaumari, she protects the northern direction. Aishanyam Shuladharini. Aishanya direction is northeast, and that is protected by the one who bears the spear, Shuladharini. Now, these are 8 directions. Actually, there are 10 directions. Urdhva and Adha, these are the most important directions. Urdhvam is upwards. Now, it's very significant that that is protected by Brahman, because I said Brahmani is Saraswati. She is attained by going upwards. This consciousness that we experience in Bhulokam can descend downwards into 7 they are called Patal, ending in Patal. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Talatala, Patala. There are those 7 worlds below. That is the downward direction. That's not a good direction for human to descend in, because it will create great distress for the mind. But in sadhana, one wants to ascend in the upward direction, urdhvam, not adharam. So urdhvam rakshatu brahmani, adhastad Vaishnavi tata. It's also significant that Vaishnavi, Vishnu being the pervasive aspect of the universe, Vaishnavi is the one who protects the downward direction. Evam dashadisho rakshet chamunda shavavahana. So evam, in this way, the 10 directions are protected, and by Chamunda, who is the...
And the 8 directions are upwards and downwards.
That's 9 and 10. Yes. In this way, the 10 directions are protected by Chamunda, who rides the corpses, Shavavahana. Now the next thing will come, protection of the Jiva itself with reference. Jaya me chagrata patu. Agrata is in front of him. So now the sadhaka invokes Jaya to protect him in front. Vijaya patu prishtataha. Sadhaka may invoke Devi to protect Vijaya. Jaya and Vijaya are actually the Dikpalakas of Vishnu in Vaikuntha. They are also invoked here to protect the back. Ajita Vama Parshvetu. Ajita is also the undefeated one. Jaya is again victory. Vijaya is victory. Ajita is undefeated one. Vama Parshve, on the left side. Dakshinecha Aparajita. Aparajita is also the unconquered one. So it's a beautiful play of the words on Devi is unconquerable. Aparajita protects the Dakshina Parshve, the southern or right hand end. Shikha Mudhyotini Rakshit. Now we start the Anganyasam. So now we will do, if you've done the pujas where we do Anganyasam, this is very similar. All the parts of the body will be named. Now the external puja, we think we are praying to Devi. See, Jiva and Paramatma are the same. So in this, the sadhaka does prayer by protecting all the internally perceived organs, by protecting them with the Devi. That's very beautiful. So, Shikha Mudhyotini Rakshet. So Shikha is here, right? Right where they keep the choti. Shikha. Rakshet. Shikham Udhyotini Rakshet. Uma Murdhni Vyavastita. Uma is sitting on the head. Murdhni is the forehead. The head. So now what is beautiful is we learn many names of the Devi, and each one will protect. Maladhari Lalate. Now Lalata is a special chakra that is situated above the Vishuddhi. On the way to the Agnya chakra, there is Lalata chakram.
Lalata is not forehead?
Forehead, yeah. There is a Lalata external forehead. There is also Lalata chakra perceived inside. So she is protecting. In this case, I think your interpretation is actually more correct, because Murdhni se Lalata sounds appropriate. Where does it go? Lalate cha, Maladhari, Lalate cha. Bruvau Rakshet Yashasvini. Bruva are the eyebrows. Yashasvini. Actually, Yashasvini is the name of a Nadi also. So, Devi is invoked in different ways. Trinetra cha Bruvor Madhye. Trinetra is the three-eyed one. So, in the between the eyebrows, which is the situation of the Agya Chakra, Trinetra, which again makes sense. She is opening the third eye of wisdom. Yamaghanta cha Nasike. In the nose, the one who resides, she is called Yamaghanta. Shankini Chakshushor Madhye Shrotrayor Dvaravasini Kapolau Kalika Rakshet Karnamule tu Shankari. Chakshushor Madhye, between the eyes, the one who resides and protects is Shankini. Shrotrayoho, of the ears, the one who protects, she is called Dvaravasini, the one who resides at the doorway. Kapolau Kalika Rakshet. Now, of course, suddenly now there is a little change in location. Kapola is, the fontanelle of the skull. Kalika is the one who protects that. Karna Mule tu Shankari. Karna Mula is the root of the ears, you may say. Shankari protects those. Nasikayam Sugandha cha Uttaroshte cha Charchika Adhare cha Mritakala Jikhvayam cha Saraswati. Nasika is protected by a form of the Devi called Sugandha. She is the sweet smelling one. She protects the nose. Nasikayam Sugandha. Uttaroshte cha Charchika. Uttaroshta is the upper lip. Charchika protects that one. Adhare cha Mritakala. The Amritakala protects the lower lip. Jikhvayam cha Saraswati. Tongue is protected by Saraswati. Again, that's always, we say that the tongue is the resident part of Vak, and Saraswati is the presiding deity of speech, Vach. Dantan rakshatu kaumari, kantha deshe tu chandika, ghantikam chitra ghantacha, mahamaya cha taluke. Dantan, the teeth are protected by Kaumari. Kantha Deshe, Kantha is the throat. Throat region is protected by Chandika. Ghantikam Chitra Ghantacha. Ghantika, as I understand it, is the uvula, the little tongue that hangs down. That is called Ghantika. This is Chitra Ghanta. Now this Ghantika has a very actually deep and important significance in and the tongue in yoga. So there is something called it is called like a Gheranda Kriya. So what they do is in one part of Hatha Yogis will actually cut the tongue at the base and lengthen the tongue, and then they can make the tongue go up into the cavity where the little tongue is. And essentially, this is a complicated and physical way of we are taking Shakti up. But then this is called Khechari Mudra. Khechari means Kha is the space. Kha is Akash. Khechara is he who roams in space. Actually, it is not the physical roaming that you have to think of, but Surya himself, when we read Surya Namaskar, we say Khaga. Khaga is a very beautiful word. It means Kha, space. Ga, he who goes in space. Khaga is a Pakshi, is a bird. But Surya is a bird also, because when consciousness goes up, it will roam in space. This is what astral travel. That is why it's called Khaga. It's very beautiful. The whole thing is so symbolic and powerful. It will just make you feel very inspired to engage in sadhana. So, Nasikayam Sugandha Uttarari, we finished this. Ghantikam Chitraganta, Mahamaya cha Taluki. Now here I'll confess my ignorance of Sanskrit vocabulary of the organs. Mahamaya
Talu is this upper part of
palate. Thank you.
This is Talu.
Talu is a palate. Thank you.
Palate.
It's very nice to have the audience help here. This is very beautiful. Kamakshi Chibukam Rakshit Vacham me Sarva Mangala Grivayam Bhadrakali cha Prishthavamshe Dhanurdhari. Chibukam is the chin. Kamakshi Chibukam Rakshet. Vacham me Sarva Mangala. Vach, speech may be protected by Sarva Mangala. Grivayam Bhadrakali cha Prishthavamshe Dhanu. Griva is the neck. Bhadrakali protects the neck. Prishthavamshe Dhanurdhari. Prishtha I translate as back. So Prishthavamshe Dhanurdhari. Yeah, neck to back sounds reasonable. Neelagriva Bahikanthe Nalikam Nalakubari Skandayo Khadgini Rakshet Bahu Me Vajradharini. Neelagriva is the deity Devi, protects the outer throat, Bahikanthe. Nalikam Nalakubari. Nalikam, I think maybe esophagus or some tube. Nalika is a tube. I think it's the esophageal tube is how I make it. Nalakubari. Skandayo Khadgini Rakshet. Skanda is shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Khadgini Rakshet. Bahu is arms. Vajradharini. Hastayor Dandini Rakshet. Ambika Changulishu cha. Nakha Chuleshwari Rakshet.
Nails.
Kukshau Rakshet Kuleshwari. Hastayo is hands. Dandini Rakshet. Ambika, mother. Cha Angulishu, the fingers. Anguli. Nakha Shuleshwari, the nails. Shuleshwari Rakshet. Kukshau Rakshet Kuleshwari. This I don't know what Kukshau means. Do you know what Kukshau means?
Maybe inside.
Fingertips kuch hoga. I have to look it up. I don't know exactly. Then Stanau Rakshen Mahadevi Manashoka Vinashini Hridaye Lalita Devi Udare Shuladharini. Stanau is breast. Rakshen Mahadevi Manashoka Vinashini. She is the one who destroys all the sorrows of the mind. Hridaye Lalita Devi. The heart is protected by Lalita. She who she who plays. Lalita is the sportive aspect of Devi. Udare Shuladharini. Stomach is protected by Shuladharini. Nabhaucha Kamini Rakshet Guhyam Guhyeshwari Tatha Putana Kamika Vedram Gude Mahishavahini. Nabhau is navel, is protected by Kamini. Guhyam Guhyeshwari. Guhyam is the reproductive organs, are protected by Guhyeshwari. Putana Kamika Medram. Putana is, I suppose, an aspect of the Devi. I was not aware of this. Kamika. Medram is the male generative organ. Gude Mahishavasini. Gude is an organ of excretion protected by Mahishavahini, she who rides the buffalo. Katyam Bhagavati Rakshet Janani Vindhyavasini Jange Mahabala Rakshet Sarvakama Pradayini. Okay, Katyam again, I'm sorry, I'm...
Kati, Kambar.
Kamar.
Paste.
Katyam Bhagavati Rakshet Janani Vindhyavasini.
Idu, Maranga.
Oh.
Knees.
That's right. Janani Vindhyavasini. Jangha is the thighs. Janghe Mahabala Rakshet. Sarva Kama Pradayini. The one who gives all the desires. Gulpayor Narasimhicha. I thought Gulpa is calves or... Yeah, Gulpa is calves, I think.
Guda Kalpa Kama.
Calves. Gulpayor Narasim.
We call it Gudka. Knee.
I thought knee or calf, I'm not sure.
Calf.
Calf. Okay.
Because the Lalita Sahasranam, this bump here, they'll compare it to some in the stones.
It's a tortoise or something.
Okay.
Gem, smooth gem.
Because for knee we call Gudga.
Gudga, right.
Gutna.
Gutna. Yeah, Gutna Hindi, Marathi, Gudga.
So, Gulpayor, calves, Pada Prishte, the back of the feet.
You are right, calf is right.
Pada Prishte to Taijasi. Taijasi protects the heel area. Padanguli, the toes, Sri Rakshet. Padangulishu Sri Rakshet. Pada Adhas Talavasini. The lower sole of the feet by talavasini. Nakhan damshtra karali cha. Keshans chaivordhva keshini. Romakupeshu kauberi. Tvacham vagishvari tatha. Nakhan is nails. Damshtra
His teeth.
and actually often
And in the teeth, the incisors.
right, the canine teeth.
Biting.
They sometimes they come out in animals. Damshtra. Karali protects us. Kesham is the hairs. Keshanscha eva urdhva keshini. Roma kupeshu kaubhe. Roma kupa must be the root of the hairs. Roma kupeshu kauberi. Tvacham skin. Vagishvari tatha. Now comes, so far we have been describing the physical body, Annamaya Kosha. Now you will see the Ayurveda part. Rakta Majja Vasa Mamsan Asti Medamsi Parvati Antrani Kalaratrishcha Pittam Cha Mukuteshwari. So now in Ayurveda we have Rakta, blood, Majja, which is the fleshy part. No, Majja is actually marrow, in the bone marrow. Rakta Majja, Majja Vasa Mamsa is fleshy part. Mamsani, Asti is bone. And Meda is, I will have to ask Richard or Catherine or look up my Ayurveda book. Meda, I don't know how to exactly translate.
It's like alas or something like that. That's what we call Meda. He has lot of Meda or alas.
हाँ, उसका exact translation मुझे नहीं पता है English में.
Lazy, kind of laziness.
नहीं, ये part of body है.
Part of body.
हाँ, जैसे there are Rakta, Majja, Mamsa, Asti, Meda.
Meda, yeah, I would think it's extra churby. The excessive fat on the body.
Fat, I thought. I do.
Meda, fat, you're right.
Excessive
You're both
fat.
right. Fat. It is fat. Majja is marrow, Meda is fat, correct. Parvati. These are protected by Parvati. Antrani Kalaratrishcha Pittam Cha Mukuteshwari. So now we will start getting into the doshas. Pittam is by Mukuteshwari. Padmavati Padmakoshe Kaphe Chuda Manistatha Jvala Mukhi Nakajvala Abhedya Sarvasandhishu. So Padmavati protects the Padmakosha, the heart lotus, you can say. Kaphe Chudamanis Tatha. Chudamani, she protects the kapha, pitta kapha, and then Jvala Mukhi Nakajvala. So the mouth of fire is the way to think of that word of the Devi, Jvala Mukhi. Nakajvalam Abhedya Sarvasandhishu. Abhedya is again epithet of the Devi, that she who is undivided. Sarvasandhishu, in all the junctions, she is undivided. So this is a very significant shall we say, phrase. So in meditation, we always encounter various thoughts. And the junction between the two thoughts is where consciousness lies. Between two thoughts. And she is there. That is where the Devi is. Consciousness. Abhedya Sarvasandhishu. Then we'll now come to the other parts, other aspects of Ayurveda. Shukram Brahmani me rakshe chayam chatreshwari tatha ahankaram mano buddhim rakshe me dharmadharini. Now quickly it has gone to Vedant. From Ayurveda, we had Shukram. Shukra is the
Semen.
the reproductive juices, which are the highest. So they say 40 drops of blood go to make 1 drop of the reproductive juice. And it is the ultimate manifestation of God, because it has the power to generate again. Right? Shukram Brahmani me rakshe. Chayam is the shadow. She protects who? Chatreshwari, the one who is the lord of the umbrella. Chayam Chatreshwari tatha. Now this Chaya is also a deep science in Swara Yoga. You know, there is a form of yoga whereby looking at the shadow, they can predict the time of death. There is a Chaya science. But depends on how deeply one wants to get into these things. Really. So now this last part is the Vedantic theory of mind. Mind is composed of Ahankar, Manam, Buddhi, right, and Chitta actually. So again, in one verse, Ahankaram Mano Buddhim Rakshen me Dharma Dharini, the one who supports the Dharma. The next part will go into yoga, pranayam, everything. So that's what I meant. It's a very complete.
Yeah.
If you read it once, you can immediately have all the Shad Darshanas in front of you. That's why it's very powerful. So, Shukram Brahmani me Rakshe Chayam Chatreshwari Tatha Ahankaram Mano Buddhim Rakshen me Dharma Dharini. So I was saying that the previous verse just stopped with the Nakajwala. So the Annamaya Kosh, all the bodily parts have been worshipped, and also Devi has been invoked as the protectress of all those parts. Now, that connection to Yoga Nidra, what I was saying is, in that I think Swamiji has a 61 points. So he says, draw your awareness to each part and slowly withdraw that awareness into the heart. That is exactly the reverse of what you may call evolution and involution. Evolution, if you read the Aitareya Upanishad, it says Purusha jumped in through the kapal into the body and spread himself out.
Okay.
So what we are trying to do is rediscover that in the reverse. So that Yoga Nidra is a very powerful technique, and that CD is very beautiful. You must have found a lot of benefit from it. All I was trying to point out is that from my viewpoint, there is a big similarity between Anganyasam and that thing. Now, in the next, after the Annamaya Kosha is done, the beauty of these great stotrams is they contain all of yoga, tantra, the entire truths in one package. So, in one verse now, it will say, so Shukram I talked about, right? This is the semen or reproductive juice, Brahmani. Because, why is it Brahmani? Because Brahma is considered Prajapati, the creator. His consort, the Shakti aspect of Brahma is Brahmani. So it is natural that she will protect that which will produce new life. Right? Chayam Chatreshwari Tatha. So Chaya is, we just read about Surya Narayana is worshipped with Chaya.
Devi Sameta.
Chaya Swarchalamba Sameta. So here they are saying this Chaya Chatreshwari. She is the lord of the umbrella. Or the Devi of the umbrella.
Swachalana.
Rakshe Chayam Chatreshwari Tata. So, I also mentioned to you that in Swara Yoga, there is a great science of the Chaya itself. So, yogis have mastered the art of looking at the shadow, their shadow, and they can predict the time of death. And so, there is a deep science behind this Chaya Vidya. Ahankaram Manobuddhim Rakshen me Dharma Dharini. So, in the Vedantic idea of mind, so when we say what is mind, actually, at least in my humble opinion, these modern opinions of mind are very weak. They have not understood the mind at all. All this, they try to affect it mainly through some physical chemicals. But in the Vedantic theory of mind is very clear. There are 4 functions of the mind. So first we see is Ahankara, which is loosely translated as ego. It is difficult to give exact translation of these words in English because English carries with it a different idea. The moment you say ego, people will think of some psychological thing. But really, the easiest translation is the very faculty of mind that thinks I do. Whenever we do anything, if there is a faculty of mind that thinks I do, that is Ahankara. Manas is the importer and exporter of the sensations. So when you sit in meditation, first through asana we bring the body to rest, Annamaya Kosha. When you withdraw, focus on the breath, that is Pranamaya Kosha. You observe the energy flow. Then you withdraw even further, that is Manomaya Kosha. When your meditation gets deep to Manomaya Kosha, you can observe the Indriyas. How the Indriyas import the sensations? There is no Indriya to export the sensations when you're sitting in asana because you have restrained the Karmendriyas. Karmendriyas, you know, right? Payu,
walking, seeing.
Payu, Upastha, excretory organ, reproductive organs, then coming up, because there is a significance with the chakras. I am reciting them in the order of decreasing grossness, increasing subtlety. Then Panav, the hands, Padav, Panav, Vach. The subtlest Karmendriya is the speech. So that's why restraining speech is held very highly in the Munis, given the fact that they've restrained all the others beforehand. Right? Then in that Manomaya Kosha, you can observe the Gyanendriyas. Grane, which is the sense of smell. Jihva, sense of taste. Netra, sense of sight. Tvacha, sense of touch. Shrotram, sense of hearing. And this first it will withdraw from the gross objects, that is external sounds. You close the eyes, external sight is cut off. You can withdraw in this way, systematically. But then the mind will play with internal sounds, sights, dreams, visions. Slowly those also have to be Manomaya Kosha. And when I say controlled, there is a very good practice that Sri Ramana recommends. Whenever the mind wanders, there are two procedures. One is mantra. Mantra siddhi is very powerful here. So if Omkar is taken as a mantra, focusing, drawing the attention back to the mantra will help you. And Omkar is the ultimate mantra. It is everything. Once Omkar is, the meaning of Omkar is understood, there is no ego left. And the other way that Sri Ramana says is Koham. That's another similar type of way. Who am I? So every time if the mind sees something, it sees an object, it will ask, who am I? It will turn inward. So repeatedly by this turning inward and inward and inward, then finally that ego is washed out. By repeatedly turning inward. Till there is no more inward to turn. That is the self. That is Atma. That is the bliss. Right? Then, now because of vasanas, the mind will come out again. But when it is done repeatedly with great gurus, for them all the vasanas are burnt. So then the mind doesn't turn outward at all. It's always resting. Okay? So what is beautiful about this one Ardha Shlok is they have combined all Ahankar, Manas, and then on that inward path. So what is the thing that observes this mind? There must be something that observes the mind. If I say the Manas is observed, it cannot be doing the observation. That vantage point is Buddhi. So that is why in the koshas, the Vijnanamaya kosha comes deeper than the Manomaya kosha. It is more interior. It is only from the viewpoint of Buddhi that you can observe the Manas. Therefore, they say the man who has lost his Buddhi, he is destroyed. Because he is not able to retain any reasoning faculty. Then only whatever the Manas draws, the mind does at that point. At that point, Buddhi Nashat Pranashriti. So that is why there is so much importance given to Buddhi. So what is Buddhi? Buddhi is another faculty of the mind. We say this thing called mind. It has a faculty to observe. And it has a faculty to observe dispassionately its own workings. That observational capacity is Buddhi. Now this Buddhi has three aspects. Because the mind is composed of the gunas, it has tamas, rajas, sattva. The mind cannot exist without these three aspects. Its very composition is due to these three gunas only. When the rajoguna is strong in buddhi, that person is considered very decisive. He said, this guy is a captain of industry. He is so decisive. He knows what to do. He quickly assimilates all the information and takes a decision. But this is a rajasic buddhi. It is still useful. In the external world, such people are very successful. But there is a sattvic buddhi. This sattvic buddhi observes, but it does not take decisions in the external world. It makes sankalpas in the internal world to draw the Atma towards the Atma. That is why Sattvic Buddhi is given the highest importance in Yoga Sutra. So, Buddhi is important, it has different functions. Sattvic Buddhi is to be cultivated for that yoga practice. So that is why this verse, Ahankaram Mano Buddhim Rakshe Me Dharmadharni. Dharmadharni is she who supports the Dharma. May she protect these three. Then come Pranapanau Tatha Vyanam Udanam Cha Samanakam Vajrahasta Cha Me Rakshet Pranam Kalyana Shobhana. So now the Pranamaya Kosha is being described. So 5 pranas are described. So it is sometimes prana generically is called prana. What does the word prana mean? This itself people are confused. Some people think prana is breath, but it's not breath actually. The meaning of the word prana is that the one who eats, the first eater. Pra is always denoting the first. So who is the first eater? And what does this eater eat? Prana eats the mind. It is only when prana eats the mind that the whole world comes into being. Prana is consciousness in motion. It's the movement of consciousness. Or you may say apparent movement of consciousness when seen from the mind. Consciousness appears to move. There seems to be a flow of Shakti. There seems to be a flow of energy. When that energy is taken in...
Life force in the Shakti.
Yeah, it means that also. Now, it has divided into 5 functions. First, prana is, we correspond to in-breath. When we take prana in, that is considered, that's also called prana. Then, apana is the breath, the discharge of energy outward from the jiva. And it can be thought of as out-breath, but it's not only breath. Because breath is the gross form of prana. So, just like we have Vayu and we say we feel the wind, this is gross form of Vayu. But Vayu exists in subtle forms also. Similarly, energy exists in different forms. The grossest form is breath. But by training the breath, you can train the prana, and by holding on to the prana, you can still the mind. So, apana. Now, just like you have breath, the mind also takes in impressions through all these 5 organs. That is also a prana actually. That is how the mind gets stimulated. That is why we say that prana eats the mind. Okay, that's the symbolic meaning. Prana is also associated with Surya, mind with Chandra. That's why Hatha Yoga. If you control one, you control the other. If you control the mind, you control prana. If you control prana, you control the mind. For most people, direct control of the mind is very difficult. That's why they cannot jump to Raj Yoga or take Ramana Maharshi's teachings directly. Personal experience is absolutely consonant with that. Therefore, from what little experience I have had, I also suggest first control the prana, then control the mind. It's easier that way. It is much harder to go straight to the mind first. So, pranayama is started off as breath control, then it becomes energy control, then it becomes mind control. And then meditation is very successful after that, if that pranayama is done. Now, we take in all these impressions. Prana, apana. There is also vyana. Vyana is what is kind of a circulatory function of energy. So, we eat food, we eat gross food. That is also prana. That's why when we eat, we do the parisheshna mantram. We offer the food to prana and all the 5 pranas. Prana, vyana, apana, samana, udana, and then brahmane swaha. So these 5 pranas have very specific functions. The first one takes in all the food. The second one, vyana, is the one that circulates the product of that food through the body. Apana rejects the mala. That which is not needed for the body, it will reject. Therefore, the excretory organs are associated with apana vayu. If you have some difficulty in your prana flow through the body, it will manifest itself in different forms of roga, vyadhi. That's the science of Ayurveda. Samana is the digestive capacity. If you have a strong samana vayu, in the gross form, it means such a person can eat any kind of food and digest it. Jirna Shakti. But this samana vayu exists in subtle form also, and it's more important in the subtle form, which is can the mind digest any input it takes, sift out the best from it, discard the rest, and take the best in? That is the quality of Paramahamsas. Paramahamsas are like swans. They take the milk and discard the water. Swan is supposed to have this property. Hamsa can take milk and discard the water. It's a legendary property in the Puranas. So samana, then once this samana digestion is done, there is a final Udanavayu. Udanavayu is what goes upward. All our speech is associated with Udanavayu. But if speech is controlled, then Udanavayu goes even higher. And it takes the Shakti to Sahasrara. That's why the control of speech, because this is like a valve. If you drain everything out from here, then there's less energy to take it out. But if you close all
When
the
you build up all that, it has to go up.
Exactly. That is the purpose of pratyahara, restraint. So, pranapanau tathavyanam udanam cha samanakam. She has described all the 5. Vajrahasta cha me rakshet pranam kalyana shobhana. Vajrahasta literally means she who has the thunderbolt in the hand. And so he says that is the epithet of Devi. May she protect. Kalyana shobhana. So for the Kalyan is benefit, swasti, common weal, one may say. And so she who acts for the common good. Rase rupe cha gandhe cha shabde sparshe cha yogini sattvam rajas tamas chaiva rakshe narayani sada. So again now this is such a comprehensive stotram. Now it covers all the sense organs and the tanmatras. So now when we consider these 5 senses, Gyanendriyas, there are a correspondence between the object that is sensed, and the organ that does the sensing and the act of sensing. These 3. There is always a triad involved in all knowledge. Knower, known, and the act of knowing. So in sensing also there are these 3 involved. So, and on top of that there is a devata associated with each sense. So if you consider going from the bottom, Grane Ashvinau, Jihve Varunaha, Netre Surya, Tvacha Vayu, Ach Vakhnihi. These are the 5 devatas. Vakhni is fire. So I said all the organs in there. Now, then also comes, there is a Tanmatra. Tanmatra is a very subtle form of the element which is associated, which when it becomes gross becomes the object. So, Gandha Tanmatra is Vayu. So in some sense what it means is that in the grossest form we feel air. Gandha Tanmatra Prithvi, sorry. In the grossest form the earth element is felt as earth. And the Gandha Tanmatra is the object which is smelt. So the purpose of smelling is we smell something that is called Gandha Tanmatra in its subtle form. Its gross form, it is pure earth. And in pure earth there is consciousness. The Lord is there in pure earth. Second one, Jihva, corresponding to the sense of taste. Rasa Tanmatra, Apaha. So the Tanmatra corresponding to Jihva is Rasa. And that's why she says, Rase Rupe cha Gandhe cha. You see, they are covering those 3 Tanmatras. Rasa Tanmatra corresponds to water. In pure water, the Lord is there. It comes in the Gita. I am rasa in sapidity in pure water, like that. There is one verse. Then Rupa Tanmatra Agni. In the pure fire, one can see the Lord. That's why we do Homam. And the subtle form of fire is what gives the object to be seen. So if you see any object, it means it has an element of fire in it. Then the final 2, Sparsha Tanmatra Vayu. The sense of touch, that's called Sparsha Tanmatra Vayu, so pure air has that sense of touch, and pure air has the Lord in it, consciousness. Then Shabda Tanmatra Akasha. The sense of sound is perceived due to the Akash Tanmatra, which is space. That is the final frontier to be crossed. When that sense also is brought into the mind, then mind is extremely fit for meditation. It will not feel even the sense of space. So here only she has given all five actually. Rasa only in different order. Rasa for water, Rupa for Agni, Gandha for Prithvi, Cha Shabde for Akash, Sparshe for Vayu, touch. Cha Yogini. So the Devi is invoked as Yogini, as the protectress of these five senses. Then these five are very important. These five senses and the five Mahabhutas. These actually, Prithvi, Apaha, Agni, Vayu, Akasha are called the Pancha Mahabhuta. All of the world that we see and experience in the waking state or the dream state are composed only of these five. Although we think we see many things in the world, all the many can be reduced to five. Every object that is seen has a naam and a roop. It has a name and a form. That's all that defines the object. The form corresponds to one of these five perceptions. So therefore, all many can be reduced to five. That's all there is. Now 5 to 3. These five are composed of three gunas. So actually, in Sanskrit is such a beautiful language. When somebody dies, they won't say necessarily that he died. They say sa panchatvam gataha. He went to fiveness. He went away into fiveness, meaning his physical form was dissolved into the five elements, which is where it came from. This is the power of the right language. The right language carries the spirituality in it. If you understand the language, you understand the spirituality also behind it. So now 5 to 3. This actually, 3 is the three gunas. Sattvam, Rajas, Tamas, Chaiva, Rakshen, Narayani, Sada. Now Sri Shakracharya wrote a very beautiful Prakarana Grantha called Panchikaranam. In that he explained how the three gunas become the five. And so, to those who are on the path of sadhana, when that point is encountered, that Panchikaranam will be very, very significant in showing us how to reduce 5 to 3. So this Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are the three gunas. And Narayani, she always protects them. Ayu rakshati varahi, dharmam rakshatu vaishnavi, yashak kirtim cha lakshmim cha, dhanam vidyam cha chakrinim. So Ayu is length of life. So Ayurveda comes from Ayu, right? Ayu rakshati varahi, rakshatu varahi. Varahi, she is in the form of a boar. Dharmam rakshatu vaishnavi. So dharmam, as we know, has three aspects. Vyavaharika dharmam, Vaidika dharmam, Swadharmam, which is the ultimate dharma to know one's true Atma. That protectress is Vaishnavi. Yashaha, fame, Kirtim. Yasha and Kirti are actually synonymous almost. Cha Lakshmim cha, and Lakshmi. Now Lakshmi is sometimes misunderstood. Of course, she is also the embodiment of material wealth, but actually she is the embodiment of spiritual wealth. That's why here it says, Yasha Kirtim cha Lakshmim cha, Dhanam Vidyam cha Chakram. Dhanam and Vidya are considered in a separate pot. Chakrini protects Dhan and Vidya. Yasha Kirtim cha Lakshmim cha. So, Lakshmi here is the spiritual wealth. She is obtained by churning the sea. Samudra Manthan. From that comes Lakshmi. That Samudra Manthan is done in sadhana. When that sadhana is successful, then Lakshmi emerges from that and as Shakti. गोत्रमिन्द्राणि मे रक्षेत् पशून् मे रक्ष चण्डिके पुत्रान् रक्षे महालक्ष्मी bharya rakshatu bhairavi. Now the Gotra is the descent, the lineage of us from the Rishis. So Indrani, the Shakti of Indra, she is invoked to protect the Gotra. Gotram Indrani me rakshet. Pashun me raksha chandike. So all the Pashu is just any animal you might say here in this context. May they be protected by Chandika. Putran rakshe Mahalakshmi. May the sons be protected by Mahalakshmi. Bharya rakshatu Bhairavi. May the wife be protected by Bhairavi. Panthanam supatha rakshe. Margam kshemakari tatha. Rajadvare Mahalakshmi. Vijaya sarvata sthita. Panthanam. Pantha is, here it is a path. So the Devi is invoked as somebody called Supatha, the good path. May she protect. Now, the path can mean many things. For the sadhaka, the path is from the Jivatma to the Paramatma. May that path be protected by the Devi. Margam, Rakshen, Margam, Kshemakari tatha. Kshemakari is she who does good. Margam, again, is path. Rajadvare Mahalakshmi. So at the entrance to the kingdom, you may say, or to the king's place, palace, Mahalakshmi. Vijaya Sarvata Sthita. Vijaya is everywhere residing. So this is now actually pretty much concluded the entire Raksha. So everything is protected. And just as a final thing, this poet adds, Raksha hinam tu yat sthanam. If there is any place that is not protected, Varjitam kavachenatu, that is devoid of the armor, tat sarvam rakshami devi, that also may be protected. So the Sampurna Raksha is completed in this verse very beautifully, so that the person who is praying and saying will not have any doubt. It will remove all doubts, right? By this one verse. Rakshahinam tu yat sthanam varjitam kavachenatu, tat sarvam rakshame devi, jayanti papanashini. So, Jayanti, another epithet of the Devi, Papanashini, the destroyer of all sins. The only sin is ignorance, not knowing the true self. That is the only true sin. That is what in that, I said, Aditya Hridaya Mahapapam, that is the Mahapap. There is no other pap. All other paps are minor. They are not have to be worried about really. They will be eradicated in time when the mind turns to God. But the ignorance is the root pap. From that only stems all the other pap. Padamekam na gacchetu yadichet shubhamatmanaha kavachena vrito nityam yatra yatraiva gacchati. Padam ekam na gacchetu yadichet shubhamatmanaha. So, this I am having some difficulty exactly translating. Yet ichet shubhamatmanaha is that which is desired by the, shall we say, pure self. Yet ichet shubhamatmanaha. Padam ekam na gachet tu. This I roughly translate as, suppose this pure soul or the pure self does not reach a particular station that it is desiring to go to. Kavachena vrito nityam. Let it be protected by always nityam by this armor. Kavachena vrito nityam. Yatra yatraiva gacchati. Wherever it goes.
Can you read it one more time?
Sure. This verse in Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Padamekam na gachet tu yadichet shubhamatmanaha. Kavachena vrito nityam yatra yatraiva gacchati.
Okay, I thought that first verse says that without the will of goddess, one cannot even move a single foot forward. Padam ekam na gaccheti.
That's also a nice way to, yeah. Gacchetu yadichet shubhamatmanaha.
Jadichet shubhamatmana. So unless there is a
Grace of
shubha will of,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
cannot even step a single
ये भी अच्छा है,
forward.
right? I like that. Yeah. Right. I think you're maybe closer to it. Yeah. Right. That seems to make sense actually. And second part, we are agreed, right? Kavachena vrito nityam yatra yatra gachati. Tatra tatrartha labhascha. That's right. So you cannot move even a finger without the blessing of the goddess. Then wherever you go, you are protected. So then it says tatra tatrartha labhascha vijaya sarvakamikaha. So there, wherever you go, artha labhascha. So, gain of wealth, whatever that wealth be.
Desire.
Vijaya sarvakamikaha. So,
Attainment of all desire.
right, that is correct. Yam yam chinta yate kamam tam tam prapnoti nishchitam. So all this is saying those who pray to the goddess and have this kavacham, yam yam, whatever they think, yam yam chinta yate kamam tam tam prapnoti nishchitam. So whatever their mind desires, they attain that most surely. Paramaishwarya matulam. So this is now you might say a kind of a phalasruti. Paramaishwarya matulam prapsyate bhutale puman. So the ultimate Aishwaryam, which is beyond compare. So this Aishwaryam is actually the spiritual growth. That's why it's called Paramaishwaryam. Atulam prapsyate, gains. Bhutale, right on this earth. Puman, a man. Nirbhayo jayate martyah sangrameshva parajitah. Trailokyetu bhavet pujyah kavachena vritah puman. Nirbhayo, without fear, at the time of death. Nirbhayo jayate martyah. Sangrameshva aparajitah. He is unconquered in every battle, in all battles. Trailokyetu bhavet pujyah. He becomes worship worthy in all the three worlds. Kavachena vritah puman, having been protected by the armor of the goddess. So you see, man also has to pray first to goddess.
Huh?
Man also has to first pray to goddess. I say. That truth is beyond both genders, man or woman. These are just some, because we have taken one body, we think today I am a man, tomorrow I am a woman. But those distinctions don't exist at the level of the Devi and Shiva. Idam tu devya kavacham devanamapi durlabham yah patet prayato nityam trisandhyam shraddhayanvitah. And now this one, idam, this one to devya, this Devi's armor, kavacham,
Is inaccessible.
devanamapi durlabham. It is very difficult even for the devas, the gods of the senses, to attain it. Yah patet prayato nityam. He who reads this with effort, every day. Actually, nityam is every moment. Trisandhyam shraddhayanvitah. Normally, the three sandhyas are denoted as Pratah Sandhya, that is at sunrise, Madhyanikam in midday, and Sayam Sandhya. But actually, the Sandhya occurs at every thought. Every instant the thought arises from consciousness, there is Sandhya. The middle of the thought is Sandhya. The end of that thought is Sandhya. So in its ultimate meaning, what it means is that Devi should be kept in mind always, at all times. Daivi kala bhavet tasya trailokeshva parajitah jivet varshashatam sagram apamrityu vivarjita. So one last thing in that, this sadhyam shraddhayanvitah, with great faith. This is very important. So that Devi part should be done with great faith. Daivi kala bhavet tasya. The Devi's, one might say, skill or her power is there with him. Trailokeshu aparajitah. Again, unconquered in the three worlds. Jivet varshasatam. He lives 100 years. Sagram apamrityu vivarjitah. Devoid of any untoward death. Nashyanti vyadhayas sarve lutavisphotakadayah. Sthavaram jangamam chaiva kritrimam chapi yad visham. Nashyanti, all the diseases are destroyed. Sarve. This last phrase I will have to look up. Luta is potakadaya. I don't know what it means. I'll have to look it up. Sthavaram jangamam chaiva. Sthavaram is that which is stationary. Jangamam is that which is moving. All that is
Animals
moving.
and plants.
All moving and unmoving. Cha eva. Kritrimam chapi yad visham.
Any harm done
By poisons and things like that. So now this is again telling what all it protects against. Abhicharani sarvani mantra yantrani bhutale bhuchara khecharaschaiva jalajas chopadeshika. So now abhicharani are kind of spells or some sort of a curse, incantation. All those mantra yantrani bhutale, done by mantras or yantras on this earth. So it protects against all that kind of black magic. Bhuchara, those who are roaming on the earth. Khechara, those who are roaming in the sky. Bhuchara, khechara, sheva. Jalaja.
Spirits.
Jalaja, also in the water. Chopadeshika. So basically it's a protection against. See, the basic idea of this is when one sits in meditation, on the path there may be some fears that arise. This is, by saying this, you get a very firm faith of protection against all that, and it truly protects. Those fears only arise due to the mind. Once the mind gets strong and cleansed, there will be no fear at all. So these are very useful for that. At one point when one is reading about all these things, there will be so many viewpoints on good spirits and bad spirits and all these things. And they can disturb the mind. It's a very genuine, because in true sadhana, one treads into the unknown. You see, it's all very well to say when you're sitting in your couch and happy. But if you do, as a Veera, undertake to do sadhana, you're going to step into many unknown places. And those unknown places are only in the mind. But they can create fear. And that is why the great sages in their wisdom, here, Brahma and Markandeya, they wrote these so that people might read them and understand and gain great strength and never be depressed or afraid. Then comes Sahaja, Kulaja, Mala, Dakini, Shakini, Tatha. Now there are various Shaktis. In the Shakti tradition, there are so many Shaktis associated with each of the chakras. And actually, there is a... Right. So, Sahaja bond with Kulaja. So the Kula, for instance, what is this thing of Kula? Normally, we think of Kula as, we say the common feeling is family you are born with. But in the Shakti tradition, Kula is basically the lineage from which the Guru's spiritual descent comes. That you become part of that Kula. And just like we say in that shlokam, Bandhava Shiva Bhaktas. My bandhus are Shiva Bhaktas. So there comes a point in the spiritual aspirant's path where, regardless of what the birth in whatever family, they begin to understand their spiritual family. That is Kula, Kulaja, Mala, Dakini, Shakini, Tata. Antariksha Chara Ghora. So Antariksha is basically the heavens, you would say. Whatever scary things that roam those heavenly places, Chara Ghora. Dakinyascha Mahabalaha. They are very powerful Dakinis. There are these very powerful Shaktis. All the evil things are destroyed by these extremely powerful, although they may appear fearsome sometimes. They are protectresses. Graha Bhuta Pishachascha. So, Graha Bhutas, so Bhutas you understand. These are ghosts, right? That may be roaming around in a home. Pishachas are like translated as goblins. Yaksha Gandharva Rakshasa. Yakshas and Gandharvas, again, these are subtle beings. Right. They are considered forms of consciousness that have power over, say, a lake or different objects in the world.
Yaksha and Gandharva, they live in Bhuvaloka.
Right. Bhova. That's right. That's right. And they are actually, Kinnaras are singing the praises of the Lord. So some of them are considered, shall we say, benign and helpful even. Right. Kubera is supposed to be Lord of the Yakshas, for instance. Right. Rakshasaha. Rakshas are generally considered more malefic. Brahma Rakshasa Vetala. So there is something called Brahma Rakshas. After this, I'll tell you one story of my grandfather and the Brahma Rakshas. Vetal, like Vikram and Vetal. Kushmanda Bhairavadaya. Then there are these Bhairavas. So basically, various kinds of spirits are being. Nashyanti Darshana Tasya. Just by the seeing them, they are destroyed. Who's seeing? Kavache Hridi Samsthite. He in whose heart the Devi Kavacam is installed, the moment he sees them, these get destroyed. Nashyanti Darshana Tasya Kavache Hridi Samsthite. Manonatir Bhaved Ragyaha. There is an increase, unnati, in one's fame or reputation. Bhaved Ragyaha. Here it seems to apply to a king, but why you are a king also.
Your domain also.
Whoever says it is a king. Ragya. Tejo Vriddhi Karam Param. Tejas. So I mentioned to you that is a brilliance associated with Pitta. Just like Ojas is associated with Kapha and Prana is associated with Vayu, Vata. So Tejas, Tejo Vriddhi Karam, increases his brilliance. Param. Yashasa Vardhate Sopi. Also his fame gets increased. Kirti Mandita Bhutale. And also fame, renown.
Famous throughout the world.
All over the world. Japet Saptashatim Chandim Kritvatu Kavacam Pura. Who is that? He who does the japa of the Saptashati, Durga Saptashati Chandi, after having done this Kavacam before. So this Kavacam is meant to be a prelude to the Durga Saptashati. Yavan Bhumandalam Dhatte Sashaila Vanakananam Tavat Tishtati Medinyam Santati Putra Pautriki. So the way I understand this, I'll roughly translate it. Second part says Tavat, until then, Tishtati, he stays. Medinyam, Medini is the earth, the fertile one. Santati Putra Pautri, with a large family having children and grandchildren. How long? Until as long as the Bhumandalam allots. Dhatte. Sashaila Vanakananam. That phrase I will have to go and
hills and
something, yeah.
forests.
Hills and forests, right. Correct. Shaila Vanakananam. Dehante Paramam Sthanam Yat Surairapi Durlabham. This final verse is very beautiful, so listen quietly. Dehante Paramam Sthanam Yat Surairapi Durlabham Prapnoti Purusho Nityam Mahamaya Prasadataha. Dehante, at the end of the body, attains the ultimate state, Paramam Sthanam. Yet Suraripi, that is hard even for the sense gods, the gods of the senses, the Suras, even hard for them to attain. Prapnoti, attains Purushaha, that Purusha, Nityam, always, Mahamaya Prasadataha, having gained the favor of the great Mahamaya. Labhate Paramam Rupam Shivena Sahamodati. This final verse will make your hair stand on it. Labhate Paramam Rupam, attains the ultimate form. Shivena, he enjoys, dances, delights with Shiva. Shivena Sahamodati. So that is the Devi Kavacam, most beautiful, most purifying, most thrilling. Whenever you read it, it will make your heart glad. It gives great strength in every way. And that's why I highly recommend it.